Well guys, so I'm going to be working on this Eco SRM-231 weed eater today. I got this as payment for working on somebody's lawnmower for them, and I needed a little bit better of a weed whacker than I had before. This thing has loads of compression, but it was left outside for a little while. Both of the two triggers are going to be replaced. This one's actually still okay, but this one ended up breaking. So I'm going to go ahead and replace that. It's really simple to take that part apart. I'm also going to replace the air filter and the carburetor. I'm not going to bother worrying about this just yet. We'll go ahead and get started on the carburetor. What I like about these Eco and even steel weed eaters is they really design them for the end user to service them, because they're, I don't know if this one is a fully commercial grade one, but a lot of gardeners use these. So I'll go ahead and pull the air filter box off. And as I suspected, I didn't even look at it before I bought a new air filter. I just figured it needed to be changed. So that's simple enough. In order to remove the carburetor, we're going to have to remove both of these two screws. And we'll use power tools for that. And slide them both out. Don't want to lose those, so we'll set those aside right there. Now we also need to remove this throttle cable that goes to the trigger. But before we do that, we'll go ahead and just pop that off. And there's the gasket that we're going to need to replace, so hopefully that comes off in one piece, and it does. We have two lines that go to the bottom of the primer bulb. The primer bulb on this one's blown out. And with a lot of this two-stroke stuff, it's really you're really better off to just go ahead and replace the whole carburetor, just because of the way that they're designed and made. I went with a new carburetor. It cost me $16 off of eBay for a brand new one. Now you can rebuild these. You can go through and replace all the ancillary parts inside of them, but honestly, with how cheap a new carburetor is, it's easier and cheaper to just go ahead and replace the whole carburetor. I priced out the diaphragm, the primer bulb, and I think that's all I even looked at, and it came out to like $14 from eBay. It's such a small amount of money that you're saving by even going with the Chinese parts that are going to take a month to get to you. Because the Chinese parts, the Chinese diaphragm, the Chinese primer bulb, are a little bit cheaper than the stuff you can buy that's in North America and can be shipped to you from North America. But it's really not too much of a price difference. I'd rather just buy the whole carburetor and go ahead and install a brand new carburetor. So we'll set this thing aside. And so to help us get this wire off, just go ahead and remove this small nut that's right here. Set that aside. Should be able to rock everything off here. And there you have it. So you can see at the bottom, it has a small C-clip. You're going to need to remove that. These can kind of really be a pain in the ass. So when you remove it, I'm sure this new one came with one that's already installed, so I'm not going to really worry about losing it too much if I do, but I'm going to try and hold on to that anyways. And like I said, these are kind of a pain in the ass to remove, so you just want to be careful. But any flat tip screwdriver should get it out just fine. So now we'll go ahead and remove that part there. And then this part as well comes straight off, just like that. So now you're going to need to basically screw out your throttle cable. And there you have that. So we'll kind of set that aside. Now you have these two fuel lines, and these can also be kind of a pain in the ass to take off. You don't want to lose this either. So I'm actually going to kind of tuck that away up there. But these small fuel lines, which actually can probably be replaced, but I don't have any on hand, so I'm not going to worry about it just yet. You just pull them off like that. And remember, if yours is color coded, the yellow one was the left one facing the primer bulb. So we'll go ahead and grab our brand new carburetor, thread this little guy out. Give you guys a better viewing angle there. We'll go ahead and connect both of our fuel lines. And there you have it. So now we just have to throw this back on. Now there is a little bit of a difference with this new one. As you can see, there's no threads at the top, but this old one has threads at the top. So we'll go ahead and use the old one. Should do us just fine. Just slide it back on. Make sure the end of the cable goes through. And we'll tuck that out of the way. Now it was a good thing I bought those extra carburetor gaskets, because the new one did not come with them. It's kind of surprising that it did not. So now we have our new carburetor gaskets. We're just going to need one, so we'll set the other one aside. Now the easiest way to go ahead and thread one of these back on is to grab your filter box, stick that through the carb, and then stick the gasket onto the two screws. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is thread both of the screws back in. And I'm on the number 3 setting with the drill. You don't need really a whole hell of a lot of power. And that's good enough for us. So now with the new carburetor on, we can go ahead and hook this back up. So again, just go ahead and loosen up that jam nut. Careful not to lose it. I'm going to go ahead and pull it off just the same as you did earlier. Just like that. Now this is the tricky part, but basically all you do is just thread it back on like so. I'm actually going to hold it. We'll grab our trigger here. And you guys heard that snap, so we know it's now in and in place. So what you want to do now, I just had to rotate it around because it was on kind of an opposite direction, is go ahead and spread out this screw right here so we can move everything around easier. Go ahead and use the settings from this one to kind of set a baseline. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and rotate this out so it's easier for us to reinstall everything. And there you have it. It's now on and in place. So we'll use the trigger here, see how everything works, and it actuates nicely. So now we can go ahead and throw our jam nut back on. And it's now down and in place, so everything's working here. So, should be just about good to go, but for now, we're going to go ahead and finish up with the trigger unit. Now with this air filter, what you can do is put it on first, and then grab your box. Go ahead and reinstall that as well. So now the next part of this process is to go ahead and replace both of these triggers. And it's really easy to remove and service these. So all you have to do is just take the screws out. There's nuts on the other side, so you want to be sure not to lose those. And then we'll get this one as well. Now in order to help you remove the handle, you have to remove this part as well. So this clamp down below actually is kind of what keeps everything on, so just scoot that back. It's kind of really a pain in the ass to, but basically that's all you do. and then you can get yourself better access to get down into here. So now we have the top part here. There's also a little spring that's on the back that's going to be kind of fun to get back on. But it goes just back on like that. And so I'm actually using the top part here to kind of get everything back on. You just kind of want to be really careful. But there you go. Now the top one has been replaced. So now we can go ahead and get started on this monster, which might even be a little easier. And it looks like it is. So with this one, you just rotate it out. Remove the lock cable at the end, and as you can see, this one's got a spring on it as well. So here's our new one. Got the spring out. There you have that. So we'll go ahead and throw the lock cable back on. That just slides back in. There you have it. So now it works. Let's go ahead and do our best to put everything back together. And before I get too ahead of myself, we'll go ahead and tighten these up. Make sure everything's still working. So we'll just go ahead and bring our grip back forward. There you go. And we need to bring this guy back forward. So we'll use the needle nose trick again. So with the top part here, go ahead and thread your screw back on. Throw your nut in first. And there you have that. So now this thing is pretty much fully serviced. So now I'm just going to adjust that screw back to where this one is set. I'm probably going to need to adjust that when I get this thing going. But at this point in time, I'm just really not all that worried about it. I just kind of want to set it to where the other one's set so I know I have a baseline to go off of. All that does is it just sets your idle speed, and that's all that thing is for. So here's our old carburetor. Go ahead and probably get rid of that. So let's throw some gas in this thing and see what happens. Alright guys, so let's see if she'll give us a start. So I primed it a few times and full choke. Let's see what happens. Wow! Nice. Like I said, I did have to adjust that idle speed just a little bit because it kept rotating even when my hand was off the trigger. Not a big deal. Let's go ahead and finish this video off with doing all of what's left to here. Thing idles perfectly. I'm definitely happy with that, boys. Now I just have a mess to clean up. Also, I hope you guys enjoyed the video on this thing. I'm glad I got it working, and all the parts that I bought to replace everything that I have and get this thing running again only cost me about $35. Definitely a lot cheaper than bringing it into the local lawn and garden shop to have them do it. But hope you guys enjoyed this video. I've definitely got a much better weed eater now for around the house and for out here. So have a great weekend, everybody, and you all stay classy.